welcome to my Mass Effect tutorial, where I hope to provide a basic introduction to the first Mass Effect game, focusing specifically on character customization and general game mechanics. As you may already know, Mass Effect is a science fiction role-playing action game where you play Commander Shepard, a soldier whose mission is to save the galaxy from a race of powerful and mysterious beings. I was inspired to create this tutorial because I genuinely love this game and want to make it easy for new players to start a character and explore the Mass Effect universe through the eyes of their very own Commander Shepard. In line with this, my goal today is to make sure you have all the information you need to be successful in your Mass Effect playthrough. Let's go ahead and get started. On the main menu screen, I'm going to select Start New Career.
Welcome to Alliance Military Database. Classified information requested.
Then I'll select Connect to Database.
Establishing secure connection. Secure connection confirmed.
The character customization in Mass Effect 1 is completed through the profile reconstruction process. This process essentially creates your character's appearance and origin story. Right off the bat, you have the option of bypassing most of the character customization process and playing as the default male Shepard by selecting the John Shepard option. Note that if you select this option, your character's appearance and origin story, including pre-service history, psychological profile, and military class, will be selected for you. More specifically, your character will be Earthborn, a sole survivor, and a soldier. For the purpose of showing how to customize your character, we'll go ahead and click on Enter New ID. On this screen, you'll note that you have two quick start options, one for a male character and one for a female character. Again, if you select a quick start option, your character's appearance and origin story will be selected for you and will be the same as the default John Shepard I previously described. If you want to customize these elements, you'll need to select either custom male or custom female. I'm going to go ahead and select custom female. You'll now have the option to name your character or leave it as the default, which is Jane for female Shepard and John for male Shepard.
Please log in to access your profile. Warning, data corruption detected. Please reconstruct profile.
You'll then select Reconstruct Profile.
Confirm pre-service.
And now you can begin to customize your character. Up first is your character's pre-service history. You have three choices: Spacer, Colonist, or Earthborn. I recommend reading the descriptions and selecting the one you'd like for your character. Your selection here will determine a few things. First, it will determine how other characters talk about you. For example, if you select Colonist, you might hear characters make references to your experiences living on the colony of Mindwar. Second, it determines the nature of a unique side mission. More specifically, there's a side mission that is only available to Spacers, another version that's only available to Colonists, and another only available to Earthborns. Finally, in conjunction with your psychological profile, your selection here will determine how many Paragon and Renegade points you'll have when you start the game. I'll discuss Mass Effect's morality system shortly, and what Paragon and Renegade actually mean, but for now just note that these selections do correspond with certain morality points. I'll go ahead and select Colonist for my Shepard.
Confirm psychological profile.
Next, we'll select our character's psychological profile, which is largely determined by Shepard's experiences in and reactions to various events in his or her military career. Again, you have three options: Sole Survivor, War Hero, and Ruthless. Like your pre-service history, I recommend you read through all three options and decide which is the best fit for your character. Again, these decisions will determine how other characters perceive you, which unique side mission you'll receive, meaning that there is a side mission specifically for Sole Survivors, one for War Heroes, and one for Ruthless Shepards. And finally, your decision will help determine how many Paragon and Renegade points you'll have when you start the game. More specifically, Sole Survivors will be awarded both Paragon and Renegade points, War Heroes will be awarded Paragon points, and Ruthless Shepards will be awarded Renegade points. I'll go ahead and select War Hero for my Shepard.
Confirm military specialization.
Next, we'll select our character's military specialization. This is essentially our combat class and determines what weapons you'll be proficient in, what kind of armor you can use, and the specific talents that you possess. The weapon classes in this game are pistols, assault rifles, shotguns, and sniper rifles. The 3 armor types are light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor. There are 6 military specialization classes that are rooted in the 3 major types of combat in Mass Effect: combat, tech, and biotic. Let me briefly describe these 3. Combat refers to classes and talents based on weapons, armor, and improved health. Tech refers to classes and talents based on the engineering or hacking of various technologies, done primarily through your Omni tool, which is a handheld orange holographic device you'll sometimes see on Shepard's forearm, like the one depicted here. Biotic refers to classes and talents based on biotic powers. I won't go into too much lore about biotics, though I certainly recommend you do because it's quite interesting. But basically, biotic powers are Mass Effect fields deployed via the use of biotic implants that can do lots of things to enemies, such as knock them over or lift them into the air, and it can also create protective barriers for yourself. As I mentioned before, your military specialization determines your weapons, armor, and talents. The 6 classes are essentially various combinations of the combat, biotic, and tech approaches I just described. For example, if you're a soldier, which is a full combat class, you'll be proficient in all weapon types and be able to equip all armor types. On the other hand, if you're an engineer, you'll only be proficient in pistols and can only use light armor, but you'll have a series of special tech talents. I recommend reading all of the descriptions before selecting a class and choosing the one that you think would best fit your playstyle. I'll go ahead and select Adept from my Shepard. Once you complete the game, you'll have the option to select a bonus talent on subsequent playthroughs. If you haven't completed the game before, this screen will not be available to you. But just so you know, bonus talents are talents that are unlocked based on your use of these talents in prior playthroughs. For example, if you played as a soldier your first time and unlocked the achievements for shotguns, assault rifles, and sniper rifles, you'll then have these available to you as bonus talents in subsequent playthroughs for all military classes. So if you play as an engineer for your second character, you can select assault rifles as a bonus talent, and your character will now be able to specialize in assault rifles rather than just pistols. I'll go ahead and select assault rifles for my Adept character because she'll now be able to use both pistols and assault rifles.
Confirm facial identification.
Finally, you're taken to the facial identification screen, where you can either select Confirm Appearance to use the default Shepard's face, or you can select Change Appearance to customize your Shepard's face. I won't go through all the customization options, but as you can see here, there's a fair amount of customization you can do. When you're done customizing your character's appearance, you can select Finalize.
Profile reconstruction complete.
You'll now be at your Profile Summary screen, which includes a summary of all your decisions. When you're ready to start the game, go ahead and click Accept and then Confirm. Now, just a few more elements to review before we finish the tutorial. First, note that you have a weapon wheel, accessible via the left bumper on the Xbox. This contains the 4 weapon types for you, located on the bottom third of the wheel, and for your 2 squad mates, which will be located on the left and right thirds of the wheel. Use this wheel to select specific weapons you want to use, both for yourself and your squad mates. The wheel will tell you when you or a squad mate are untrained to use a certain weapon. Avoid these weapons if you're untrained in them, as accuracy and overall handling will be quite terrible. You also have a power wheel, accessible via the right bumper on the Xbox. This contains the various powers you and your squad mates possess. Use this power wheel to select the powers you want to use, again on the bottom third for your character and the left and right thirds for your squad mates' characters. And note that using this wheel during combat will momentarily pause combat and allow you to select powers. This can be helpful for strategizing during fight scenes. You can also map certain powers to certain keys for your character to facilitate accessing these during combat. Your mission computer, accessible via the Start button on the Xbox, is a central location where you can access codex entries, which are great for learning more about the lore in Mass Effect and the Mass Effect universe in general, your journal, which will help you keep track of main and side missions, equipment, where you can manage inventory for yourself and squad mates, the save feature for creating manual saves, and the squad screen, which will enable you to level up talents for yourself and your squad mates. I'd like to say a quick word about how saves work in Mass Effect 1. This is something I didn't know and really wish I had known when I did my first playthrough. Overall, the rate of autosaves is relatively low, meaning they don't happen very often. I highly recommend taking some time to pause and create a manual save if you haven't created one recently, just to make sure you don't lose significant progress. Some of the main missions in particular are full of fight scenes that can be challenging, and to avoid having to redo lots of these scenes, just be mindful of when you last created a save and take a second to create a new one just in case. Now let's access the squad screen for a moment and talk about morality. Mass Effect has a morality system that's comprised of two independent scales, Paragon and Renegade, which you can see here on the left-hand side of the screen. Paragon, represented by the color blue, is a scale that typically reflects compassionate and heroic actions, whereas Renegade, represented by the color red, is a scale that typically reflects unsympathetic and ruthless actions. In the game, these scales operate on a point system. In other words, Paragon actions you perform will award you a certain amount of Paragon points, and Renegade actions you perform will award you a certain amount of Renegade points. Now, it's important to note that the game generally rewards consistency in morality, meaning high points in either Paragon or Renegade. This is evident by the fact that you need a certain amount of points in these scales to do things in the game, like unlock dialogue options or make major plot choices. Here on the squad screen, the talents Charm and Intimidate correspond to Paragon and Renegade respectively. I recommend making sure to keep either Charm or Intimidate, or both if you wish, full whenever you can. In the case of Charm, this will unlock more Paragon options and conversations, which will in turn allow you to earn more Paragon points. And in the case of Intimidate, this will allow you to unlock more Renegade options and conversations, in turn allowing you to earn more Renegade points. As I mentioned, having these additional dialogue choices available will not only affect how your conversations go, but can also affect major plot outcomes. For my character, I'll go ahead and put the 3 points I have available all into Charm, because I anticipate playing a Paragon Shepherd. Finally, let's take a moment to discuss the dialogue wheel. In terms of general structure, dialogue options on the left usually reflect additional information or dialogue exploration, whereas options on the right usually serve to advance the conversation. In terms of morality, it's also worth noting that Paragon actions are typically reflected on the upper part of the wheel, usually top right or left. More neutral actions are typically reflected in the middle part of the wheel, and Renegade actions are typically reflected on the lower part of the wheel, usually bottom right or left. On a related note, I know not everyone likes to do completionist playthroughs, but I highly recommend you engage with as many characters in the game as possible. It might take a bit longer, but go for those dialogue exploration options on the left side of the wheel to learn more about characters and other aspects of the universe. Not only because you learn more about the universe, but also because some of these characters will allow you to choose whether you'd like to behave in a Paragon or Renegade way, thus granting you more points for these scales and allowing you more rich dialogue interactions later on in the game. And that concludes our tutorial for today. I'd like to thank the Mass Effect Wiki, masseffect.wikia.com, for providing details on the many topics we discussed. I definitely recommend you head over there to learn more about the intricacies of the Mass Effect universe. Thank you so much for watching and for your support, and of course, feel free to leave any questions or comments below the video. I've played the Mass Effect trilogy many times over with all kinds of different Shepards and would be happy to share my experiences and answer any questions you may have. Thanks again, and I hope you enjoy your adventure as Commander Shepard.